This is Will County's News Talk Sports 1340 WJOL. It's Tuesday morning. It's time to bring you Money Talk, brought to you by NuMark Credit Union. Today, things we should know about cybersecurity. One of the most important programs we do on Money Talk. I mean, they're all important, but this one impacts each and every one of you. So we'll introduce you to our guest here in just a couple of moments. I do want to remind you that you can grow your money your own way with NuMark Credit Union, giving you flexibility with their Pick Your Term CD special. Check this out. They're offering 5% APY for terms of 6 to 11 months. Act now, available only for a limited time. Other rates and terms available. Federally insured by NCUA. Call 815-729-3211 or visit a NuMark office near you. NuMark Credit Union, where you our family. Coming up at the end of the program, a $25 Visa gift card will be given away. All you need to do is listen to our conversation, and we're going to pick one bit of information and ask you to repeat that at the end of the program. If you're the correct caller on the Turk Furniture studio line, you are going to be a winner of that $25 Visa gift card. It's been a minute. Kevin Quinn, Chief Information Officer at NuMark Credit Union, the IT guy. Hey, Kev.
How's it going, Scott?
Good, buddy. Long time no talk. Everybody behaving themselves in the Quinn household?
Yeah, for the most part. I got a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, so that might be a lot to ask at this point.
That is a fight you're going to lose for the rest of your life, my friend.
Day. Oh, yeah, every day, all day long. So it's been interesting, though. You know, it's a battle. Kid's in kindergarten now, so he's having a good time there, so that's good.
Awesome. Very, very cool. Well, good to have you back. Let's jump right in. We got a lot to get to, and you're very thorough when explaining a lot of these things.
Yeah.
Well, I mean that with all...
That's one way to put it.
I mean that with all due respect. You're very thorough when it comes to this stuff. So, data breaches not slowing down anytime soon, are they?
No, it doesn't seem to be. There don't seem to be any indications that it's slowing down. I mean, if anybody's been paying attention to the news recently, it's no secret. The attacks on the casinos, MGM and Caesars, those were pretty catastrophic for them. There's been a lot of high-profile breaches out there, and breaches that maybe a typical consumer hasn't heard of the company, but that company is involved in the transactions of millions of user accounts. So despite our best work and our best efforts in the cybersecurity industry, those attacks don't seem to be going down. And, despite constant advances in sophisticated cybersecurity tools, the data breaches continue. And, even more troubling is that they're not always sophisticated attacks. A lot of these attacks are pretty basic exploit attacks. And without getting into the details, we're talking about exploiting some basic issues in web design, to get into the back end of system and to get access to, millions and millions of data records. And it's troubling. It's not headed in the right direction yet. I hope that one time I can come on the show and be like, yeah, breaches are down. Everybody's data is safe. Everything is wonderful. We're in good shape, Scott. Let's, just go out there, just let people know what your social security number is. It's no big deal.
So what are they doing with the info that they get?
Number one is selling it. I think it's like 95, it's something close to 100% of attacks are financially motivated. So they're going on the dark web. They're taking what they get. It's kind of wild how some of this works in terms of these kind of organized crime outfits that work to breach data and to sell it. They're a little more sophisticated than I think a lot of people would give them credit for. There's multiple legs of it. One group will go in and perform the actual exploit, and that's their specialty.
Right.
They've got this whole big black book of exploits, and then they're selling that information to those who publish it on the dark web, and then that is getting sold off to your users on the dark web that are looking to, use that information for nefarious purposes. So the biggest thing that they're doing with it is selling it. So if you have anything that could be worth something to somebody else, you've got to protect it because somebody's going to try to get it. And the other thing out there, is, and this is more also in lines with selling, but they're aggregating data from multiple data breaches because they're not stopping. So it's all of these data breaches, all these little pieces that they're able to pick, about your identity puzzle. Eventually they're able to piece them together and build up your identity. And, that's where identity theft comes from. And they're, taking out loans in your name. They've got their, health insurance in your name, and they've got everything else in your name. And they've basically become you. And I think as anybody who's gone through it could tell you, it's really a nightmare to recover from identity theft. And that's why it's so important to, protect this data to the best of your ability. As we talk about a lot of these data breaches, these aren't, we're not talking about somebody hacked into John Q. Public's email account. He had it secured with MFA. He did all the right things. This is a company that didn't do, I don't want to think it happened, but this is a company where a vulnerability was left out in the wild, right, and somebody saw it and, took that opportunity to exploit it.
What or how can we see what breaches that my information has been found in? I mean, obviously, if we get hacked, our bank account gets emptied, we're going to know about that. But how do we know if our information has been in one of these breaches?
I'd say the most trusted site out there right now is this Have I Been Pwned, which is basically have I been owned with a P instead of an O on the owned part. So have I been pwned.com. And that's kind of the most trustworthy. You'll see like government organizations giving that out as well. And that you put in an email address. You don't have to put a password or anything. So you're not giving them that much information, but you put in an email address, and they'll give you the laundry list of, breaches that your email address has appeared in. And unfortunately, it's going to be tied to that email address. So if your information, say it's your name, social security, date of birth, and address, that's a whole host of information. But if your email isn't in there, then they're not able to tie the email address to everything else. But it will tell you what that email address has been involved in, and also what other identifying information was involved in the same breach, whether it be that list I went through before, passwords, everything else. So that's a good site to take a look at and see, what you've been pwned in. I did it just before this call, and for my Gmail account, I think it was up to 14 sites now, and
wow.
about 2 or 3 of them I had signed up willingly for. The rest were just kind of those data transit systems where, your information, you give it to a company, and then that company sells the information to another company for marketing or for insurance or for this or that. And you have no direct relationship with them, but somehow, their vulnerability is your data being out on the public internet.
Kev, do me a favor. Read that website off again. PW?
Okay, so it's haveibeenpwned.com, which is HAVEIBEENPWNED.com.
Got it. Okay. All right.
Yes, and it'll give you a link of information in there. It's so simple. There's no sign up. You don't have to put any of your other identifying information in there. And it seems to be at this point pretty universally trusted until there's something, some agency that puts out their own site. But it seems to be a pretty universally trusted site, and that's going to give you not an exhaustive list of everything that your information has been involved in. But that's going to give you the low-hanging fruit of your email found, as part of this, and you can definitely consider that information breached.
Well, I just saw good news, no pwnage found.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow, you're better than me.
Wow, somebody safer than the IT
good.
guy.
Yeah.
I think I just got lucky with that. Okay, so This is not that the other information isn't important, but this is the stuff that everyone can benefit from. The IT guy, Kevin Quinn, Chief Information Officer at NuMark Credit Union, is going to give us tips for protecting our info online.
Yeah, I think the number one tip for this, because passwords don't seem to be going away anytime soon, as much as we'd like them to be, and as much as we'd like some security mechanism to bypass passwords. But I think number one tip is create a long but memorable password when you're making a password. If you can use spaces, I think sometimes that's the easiest way to do it. Sometimes they don't allow you, but a lot of times they do. And if it allows spaces, you can make a sentence, and that tends to be your highest level of security because, with a sentence, you can sometimes end up with 20 to 30 characters, but it becomes much easier to remember than 8-character password that has okay, this S is a dollar sign, and I switched this with a number 3, because you don't really have to get that complicated if you have a 26-character password. The other part in terms of passwords is utilize a different password for every service you use. I think that is critical. In going back to that idea of have I been pwned and seeing a list of everything your information had been involved in. You have the same password for every site. That password, somebody gets access to your information via this, company breach A. Now they try it on B, C, and D, which had not been breached, and they have access because you use the same username and password for everything.
Right.
So use a separate password for every service. Go ahead. Okay, sorry. I thought you were jumping in there. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So use a separate password for every service that you use, and if you're using passphrases, that's going to make it easier too, because you're going to have an easier time remembering it. Another thing is multi-factor authentication.
Yeah.
Is huge. Multi-factor authentication can be turned on for a lot of sites. Not all sites at this point, unfortunately, but for most critical sites, banking sites will have multi-factor authentication. There's guidance all over the planet on, thou shall have multi-factor authentication if you're hosting banking data. I know we have that guidance too. So anything that has your financial information, personally identifiable information, should have multi-factor authentication. In some cases, if you're sharing a lot of really, personal data, your social security number, etc., sometimes you have to consider it a deal breaker if you're not able to secure it with multi-factor authentication, because that's going to be a huge mechanism to keep hackers out.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep, no doubt about it. We're talking to. I'm going to jump right in here real quick and reset. Kevin Quinn, Chief Information Officer at NuMark, joining us live here on WJOL. So let's get into our devices now. We have phones, we have laptops, we have desktop computers. How to protect our digital devices to keep them from being targeted.
Yeah, key here is updates. And you'll never hear me stop saying it. Updates are critical. When these vulnerabilities come out, anytime I talk about a vulnerability, it's fixed in an update. Eventually it's fixed in an update. That's what updates do. There's feature enhancements, there's new emojis in Apple updates, but an update is going to patch vulnerabilities as kind of core function, bug fixes, and vulnerability patches. So just make sure you're always running the most up-to-date operating system, whether that's on your laptop, desktop, your phone, your tablet, everything else. Keep it up to date. Auto updates as often as you can for your operating system, and for third-party software as well. Your Adobe Reader and everything like that. Make sure that that's constantly being updated. That's how you're going to make sure that you're on the latest version that's getting all the bug fixes. One thing that I found kind of unfortunate in the way that things work, and I get both ends of it, is when you maintain an older cell phone, and this is to say like a cell phone with the Apple iOS on it, when you maintain an older cell phone, at a certain point, they stop supporting the newer operating systems on those phones.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that might be the driver to getting a new phone. And I know that I forgot the term, but I think it's like planned obsolescence or something, but ultimately they do kind of make their phones obsolete, and that should be kind of a driver that, if you're going to maintain a phone that has email and personal identifiable information on there, you should also kind of maintain, the hardware level, so it's supporting the latest operating system as well. So that's a key thing.
Yeah. What's most vulnerable, your phone or your tablet or your laptop? What's of those two most vulnerable is, or does it not matter?
Most vulnerable, I would say, the capability to be most vulnerable is probably the laptop or desktop. The most vulnerable right now, though, based on what the attackers are targeting, is your mobile device.
Okay, got it.
So they're going after mobile devices because everybody has a phone these days. That is their primary method for accessing the internet. That's their primary method for accessing banking accounts. So I guess, without making it too muddy, I'll say mobile devices, cell phones are the most vulnerable right now. And so, like, all these tips for, keeping everything up to date, definitely consider this for your cell phone as well. Yeah. Keep the cell phone hardware up to date so that you can keep the software up to date as well. You can utilize a lot of those VPN technologies for protecting data transit. You could use them on a laptop or on a cell phone. Those help a little bit, keeping data out of the wrong hands. It does, encrypt data in transit. So everything that you're doing then has this tunnel of obscurity and encryption for any outside prying eyes. Say you're, at a public Wi-Fi at Starbucks or something.
Right.
But really, the biggest thing is updates, and then, backups. Just in the event that something happens, you restore from a backup. If your phone has a virus or your laptop has a virus or something happens, you can fix it. You try to fix it. A lot of times, and what we see is the attack is persistent. It's, you think it goes away, but it's just sitting out there somewhere on the back end. So restoring from a backup is really your safest bet at really making sure that, whatever got in is completely out. You want to make sure that you go far back enough that you're, you restore to a point before anything had gotten into the device that had, caused the exploit. Yeah, absolutely.
Kevin Quinn, CIO, NuMark Credit Union. That's the kind of guy, the thoroughness, the detail that is watching over your information at NuMark Credit Union, which is very, very important. Hey, don't forget to grow your money your way. NuMark Credit Union gives you flexibility with their Pick Your Term CD special. They're offering 5% APY for terms of 6 to 11 months. It's your call. Act now. Available for a limited time only. Federally insured by NCUA. Call 815-729-3211 or visit a NuMark office near you. NuMark Credit Union, where you are family. All right, I have a $25 gift card to give away. Compliments of NuMark Credit Union. This is a Visa gift card. 815-254-7300. 815-254-7300. What do the hackers do with the information they get from you? Easy question. 815-254-7300. First correct caller on the Turk Furniture studio line will win. Again, 815-254-7300. What will the hackers do with the information that they steal from you? Let's go to the Turk Furniture studio line. Hi, good morning. You're on WJOL. Who's this?
This is Mark.
Hi, Mark. Where are you calling from today?
I'm in Mazan right now.
All right, Mark in Mazan right now. What do they do with the information they steal? Go.
Sell it.
Yes! And they make money off it, baby. I'm going to give you, I'm not going to. NuMark Credit Union's got a $25 gift card waiting for you at their Crest Hill branch. How about that?
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Hang on the line. That's Mark down in Mazan, a winner. And thank you to our friends at NuMark Credit Union for a very, very informative and valuable show today with the IT guy, Kevin Quinn, things to know about cybersecurity.